Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of City Skylines with me, Pug Gaming. Now in today's episode we're going to work on creating the amazing Pinavia Interchange, one of the most exciting interchanges I've seen for a long time, and one of the interchanges that took me an absolute age to complete. It was a good sort of 6-7 hours worth of continuous play on this, both detailing and actually getting the whole thing set up correctly. And one thing I absolutely adore about this particular interchange is how fluent and how round the whole area is. Effectively it's just like one big huge roundabout with certain lanes to take you to certain locations. And the best way I thought of achieving this, because of how many different lanes there are going up and over each other, I decided to use the overlay map, and I found an image on the internet, and we pretty much just used this as our baseline to at least get the actual lanes and everything in the right positions, etc. It's not perfect, but you'll see from the end result how well this all works out using the overlay mod. So it's certainly a mod that's worthwhile looking at if you want to replicate things as best as possible to like for like likeness. Certainly worth a look anyway. Now just the placement of these roads and lanes and getting the right heights, etc. for the underpasses, etc. did take a good sort of 3 hours worth, and this was the majority of the video in fact, in terms of actually getting this down. Obviously again, having the Move It mod tool was brilliant for this particular build. We was able to modify any lanes that we saw fit and didn't quite sort of suit the needs. As you see, these lanes here, with this combination of the 3 lanes I'm working on here, one is very close to the other and the other one is a little bit further away, just like it shows on this image here. So getting all that down was very key to keeping this build looking as realistic as possible. So that was certainly a challenge in itself, just to get the lanes down correctly. And then also after that, once the lanes are down, you then have to sort of look away from the overlay and sort of adjust things as best you can to get them to be as perfectly round and sphere shape as possible. So what we'll do, we'll have a quick chat now about the actual interchange itself, or roundabout, depending on what you want to call it. In fact, it's pretty much both of those if you look at it in a lot of detail. So whilst we're just looking at this time lapse, what the whole purpose of this roundabout is, or was, it's not as commonly used as perhaps they probably thought it would have been when they introduced this type of roundabout. But it's pretty much a roundabout where your certain lanes take you to a certain location, north, east, south and west. And it all depends on which lane you're in as to which route you go. You can't change halfway through. If you get in the wrong lane, you're going to be going in that direction, which is probably one of the reasons that I sort of came to think of why this isn't as popular as perhaps other interchanges, as you don't have that opportunity to. But again, if you're driving, you need to know where you're going anyway, so it's one of those ones really. Another reason perhaps why this isn't as a successful type of interchange is it takes up a lot of space. And in this particular build, as you'll see now, I actually decided to add in a middle section, which was pretty much going to be a small small modern type of office area in this middle section. So you're not losing space, you just have the sort of interchange around this area. I don't think we could probably get away with houses in this area because of the build-up of the road noise throughout. I think offices or factory area is probably the best bet for having something in this middle to not have wasted land. So that was the plan for this build, and I think that's a pretty good idea and a pretty clever idea to have something in the middle. You don't want to be wasting all this space, and the interchange itself is absolutely huge in terms of other interchanges that do the same thing, but that was the whole purpose of this build. So how does this work? So you'll be coming up to the junction and there'll be 4 lanes. Lane 1 will take you into this middle industrial stroke office area where you have the opportunity at the middle of the roundabout to go your north, south, east or west. Lane 2 automatically takes you all the way out through one lane with no interchanges, no changes at all, straight out to the west. Lane 3 takes you northbound, and lane 4 takes you east. So that's how they're split up, and whichever lane you're going in, you're going to be taking that route throughout this actual build. And it's a clever idea in terms of having no stopping, no junction, no traffic lights. It's just a fluent road really. You get on the lane you want to go on and you end up going that way. So certainly in terms of sort of speed and efficiency, it's a very good choice for an intersection in my opinion. And I'll certainly be keen to hear your thoughts on what type of intersection you think is the most efficient. What are your thoughts on this particular idea of an intersection in the Pinavia Interchange? Yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think about this particular build. Now getting back into the time lapse, we're now working on the underground connections between lane 2 and 3. So these are the two lanes that go round the roundabout and connect in between the middle section, creating this sort of roundabout look. I had a bit of difficulty at first having some of these placed in. It was a bit of a tight spot to add them in, and I wanted to try and replicate them to be as symmetrical as possible throughout. And what we're working on here as well as having the two lanes going under the road, I've also done a bicycle sort of pedestrian underground pass from each corner of the map as well, to give you that sort of feeling that this this office area is very modern, and you've got the ability to be able to save on the planet, and you can cycle into work or you can walk to work. It just makes the area look a little bit more sort of eco-friendly, I guess, and that's the sort of feeling that I wanted to give off in this middle section build. Now you'll notice I did jump back and forth from a few areas whilst doing this build, and that's because of how long it was taking me. There were certain parts that I was doing which I was going to have to replicate 3 more times than what I started with. And I did in the end decide to actually copy and paste using the Move It mod tool the sections I already done, to try and make things a little bit more quicker, a little bit more symmetrical, and just to make life a lot easier, to be honest. So you'll see here I started to do that with this section here and adding it in as best I could. Obviously things aren't always perfect, and some of these lanes weren't quite the same as the other, and to copy and paste the whole thing, it could have worked, but I was thinking it'd be a lot more hard work for me to do so. So I just copy and pasted these little mini sections to sort of give me that sort of concept throughout. And once all these lanes were connected and I was happy with it, the next step for this project was to put the actual road asphalts over. As you can imagine, a build like this with so many custom lanes needs a bit of attention in terms of changing things up and making things look the same throughout. So you'll see in a moment we start to work on that, and outside of, off camera actually, I did create some 4 locations either side of this intersection with houses, industrial, etc., just to bring traffic through to the roundabout to make it realistic. I was going to do this as a particular build, but I decided not to in the end. I'm just going to carry this just as a standard mini project. So you'll see here there's a few bits where the asphalt was needed to cover up the areas. So the next stage is pretty much another hour and a half or so of adding all these asphalts down, which did take a bit of time. There's a lot of flickering parts because of how close some of the lanes were, but any detailer who likes to mess around with intersections knows that problem, and there's no way around it apart from the amazing asphalt cover-ups. So once that was done, we had our opportunity to move on to some detailing, and obviously for me personally this is the most exciting part of any build, is when you start to make things look a lot more realistic. And as I mentioned earlier, the whole concept of this middle section was to create a very modern like office area. So we're not talking about having heavy industrial areas. I know it probably may suit the theme in terms of the location with all the traffic around it, but I wanted to create a nice posh modern green sort of office area. And you may notice from this part of the video, this was actually one of my live streams I done. So if you wanted to watch this in a bit more detail and at a better viewing rate, by all means check out the link which I'll post above now. But anyway, the plan for this was to sort of create a small amount of offices with some car parking, and just make it look all nice and pleasant with a lot of tree and foliage around to sort of replicate the whole purpose of this this particular area. And you may also notice that I have also changed the theme as well for this build just before I started detailing. So we're now using the map theme mixer, and we've got a combination of different themes within this. If you want more detail, let me know and I'll post a few links to which ones I'm using. But I think I'm using 3 or 4 different ones now to create this particular build. I'd be keen to hear your thoughts on the live stream side of things. As I said, I wanted to try and do a bit more live streaming when time sort of permits, which isn't as easy as maybe some people who stream quite regularly. But if it's of interest to you guys, if you enjoyed watching the last few streams, let me know and I'll see what I can do in terms of maybe doing one doing one a bit more regularly, which would be quite fun. I mean, I do enjoy the whole purpose of doing live streams. Certainly with this build in particular, you guys who was watching me gave me a lot of inspiration and a lot of nice ideas to add in, and at the end of the day I like the fact that we can build something together, and your ideas are sometimes a lot better than mine as well, so it's good to combine both of our sort of mindsets together and sort of see how we get on. But anyway, going back to the video, I'm using Lost Gecko's wooden post, which I think fits this theme absolutely perfectly. I do love these. It gives it that sort of, it gives it that sort of look that I'm going for in this area. It certainly makes things look a lot better, and especially with the little pond area here, which I do struggle with at first, getting the water levels right, but I do work out in the end how to do that. And actually it was someone from the stream, it might have even been Lost Gecko, but apologies if it was someone else, but these ponds are not something I've done very often in the past, so having someone to tell me what I need to press and what I need to do was certainly a lot of help. So thank you for everyone who assisted me in this build during the live stream. It was much appreciated. So these last few minutes are now going to be the completion of the main office area. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to create a few of these segments and pretty much just copy and paste the buildings that we've already created and just change a bit of the landscaping around it. That was the key to doing this quickly and the most effectively, and I wanted to sort of create that mirrored look anyway. I thought that was a nice way to present such a modern new build in terms of office areas, having a sort of a replication. So we do that. Obviously we only keep the one pond, lake, whatever you want to class it as, but that was the main way of which we were able to do this a lot more efficiently. Now on a side note, I've got a very exciting new project starting in the next sort of 3 to 4 weeks. In fact, there's 2 starting very shortly, one of which you're already fully aware of, and that's going to be the continuation of the Walking Dead series. I'll be starting work on Alexandria very shortly, and a video will soon come from that. Beyond that, there's another project I'm working on, which is going to be a huge project. I'm currently working on the map itself, so keep an eye out. Follow me on my social media networks and you'll be fully kept up to date on how things are pursuing on all of those aspects. Anyway guys, I will leave you be. Enjoy the final moments of this time lapse, and I'll leave you with some cinematics of the final design. Let me know your thoughts. If you're not following already, please do so. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. Until next time, thanks for watching and all the best.